OpenAI is partnering with this little-known company. It's up today, but the smart money says there's more to go. Find out what it is and what they're betting on next.
All right, welcome to the Rebel's Edge. John does look a little different today. I realize that, but you know what? Sometimes, you get a little more handsome overnight. But it's great to see you. It's great to have you, Justin. It's always fun, and you do such a great job every time, just filling in and doing all the stuff that we do on this, call it a podcast, if you will. How are you doing today, man? And how's everything in Hawaii? Because we're starting to warm up here a little bit finally.
Oh my God, it's lovely. And I'll tell you, Hawaii's actually cooling down a little bit. It's nice.
Yeah. Sometimes it is kind of a nice little break, but wintertime's always great, man. You get up on that North Shore, you still got to spend more time over there because you are living in God's country up there, man. It's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. All right, are you ready for some macro?
Always.
I'm going to throw this one out at you. Obviously, we had everything about Venezuela. We all know that, but this is going to play out over time. This isn't something that overnight everything happens and it's like, oh, yep, that's an absolute, because there are folks that are still probably trying to heal a little bit from many, many years ago when Venezuela said, you know what, actually, you guys are all out. We're taking over this whole thing and we're going to do this. So there's a lot to be, guys are all out. We're taking over this whole thing and we're going to do this. So there's a lot to be done. There's a lot of CapEx if you really take a look at what they've got to do, because they have let things just get dilapidated. It's unbelievable. And so it's going to cost a lot of money. And will they want to do that with the possibility that maybe it gets taken from them again? I mean, that's something I think the oil folks certainly have been thinking about. And that's why I think we're hearing a lot about the fact that maybe they'll do something over there, but it's not exactly like rubber stamp that it's going to happen.
Yeah, and speaking of Venezuela, have you been watching the Venezuela stock market recently, Pete?
Oh, just a little bit. Right?
Oh, man. My God, I'm looking and I had to make sure that the number's correct. I can't even verify. It says up 49% today.
That's
up 17% yesterday, verifiably. That's crazy. All right, that's not my macro, though, because we're not trading in Venezuela. We're trading in America. I'm just going to say memory. Mm-hmm. Micron, Pete said it before we got live, but they really did do a great job at saving the market. But they're also bringing a couple of other lesser known but great names with them, like Western Digital, WDC, and SanDisk. I would take a look at all three. They are the sleeper picks of AI that are becoming awoken, in my view.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talked about those markets. I'll tell you, the other side of it over here where things really got pretty excited was, it's heavy crude that we're talking about here. And so with that means certain types of refiners. And those happen to be really skyrocketing yesterday and probably into the future. And that's something that, over time, it's going to be watched probably pretty closely, because the idea of that, and also the Halliburtons of the world and so forth with the services. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that this could be very, very interesting. How about we get into a little bit of fantastic futures? And I think this one, you look at the VIX, we talk about how tight the range is. This is how tight it's really been. Over the last 2 weeks, we're basically between 1350 and 15. That's where we sit. And then if you just even go over the last week, okay, it's even a little bit tighter, 14 and a quarter to 15. That's pretty much what it is. So that volatility, man, just keep an eye on it. There will come a time, and you never know when it's going to come, but there will come a time where this is going to spike back up again, probably into the upper teens, maybe even into the 20s. But let's hope we don't see again some of those 50s and 60s, because that gets a little bit crazy at times. But we will move off of this at some point in time.
Yeah, completely agree. My fantastic future is actually something I saw in John's last tweet. It was the prediction markets talking about IPOs before 2027. This is a huge part of my thesis, actually, for the macro. It's a lot of this private money is going to become unlocked when names like SpaceX, which has a 74% chance of IPOing before 2027, according to Polymarket, comes in IPOs. That's a huge amount of money. Or how about Anthropic? How about Anduril? great defense name, super cool CEO, by the way, or even OpenAI or a couple of these other names. When these come out and start IPOing, yeah, they bring a lot of excitement to the public market, but more importantly, they unlock money that's just been stuck in there, waiting for exactly that event for a very long time. Where does that money go? Probably into the public market.
Yeah, by the way, we've got ourselves a pretty fun webinar coming up here. It's going to be out on Thursday at 4:00 Eastern time. And there it is right there, the battle plan. I mean, it can be a battle sometimes, right? But if you go with it with the knowledge of what's been going on in the markets, what's going on specifically in the options markets, I think there's a lot of ways that you can enjoy and maybe get a lot of things, that you're learning that are going to be that much more important depending on how the markets are going to move, because we're not that far away, Justin, from earnings season kicking off and all the rest of that. And obviously that's going to be very important as well. So you've got the Fed, you've got this, you've got that, you've got earnings, all of that. Hopefully this can help along the way to have a battle plan when you start getting into it in the new year. So that should be a pretty fun thing. And obviously you've got that, the QR code sitting right there. That's pretty easy. I think everybody knows how to do that. If you want to be a part of that, you got to start registering, because this happens on Thursday. So that's going to be pretty fun.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I know we always say, oh, this webinar, whatever it is, you got to go to this one. But this one in particular, we're all going to be on this one, in my knowledge. These are always really, really good. You're going to get a wide breadth of opinions. Would highly recommend checking this out. Yeah,
that should be a lot of fun. All right, should we get after it, man? We've got a lot of things going on right now. I'll tell you, it's really pretty wild. This one stream, that one stands out pretty big. I know John's not here today. He shot that over to us, but he's talking about this Michigan software company and the AI cloud platform that it sits upon to have corporate performance and all the rest of these things. It looks like HG Capital is taking a little look at these guys, and I think that should be pretty interesting. And last I looked, stock was up, call it 20% or so. They've got a phenomenal balance sheet. There's a lot of positives to this whole thing. They're in talks, advanced talks, all the rest of it, but it isn't done yet. It hasn't been inked, but this is a stock that's making a pretty big move. It's still well below the 52-week high, so I would throw this one out to you, Justin, and just ask you, what do you think of something like this? The news is out there that it's a possibility, but it is not absolute. So what do you say? What do you think about this one?
There's only one absolute to me, Pete. And it is 3 letters, XLF. It is the financials, man. Same thing we always say. Every time that these deal things come out, who knows? Maybe if we had UOA, I'd probably take a shot. Yeah. I didn't see any UOA on it. I might have missed it. But I'll tell you what I do see is financials yesterday posting a 2.18% gain. Monster move. I think it was the largest move that the XLF saw since that big April candle. Could be wrong, but that's a monster move. They're up again today. I'd trade the financials, even if you don't trade the ETF. That's fine, but I'd trade one of these deal makers. That's what I get out of this deal, personally.
I'm with you, man. I'm 100% with you. We talk about this all the time. I mean, and that's going into this year. Anybody who's been negative last year, they were wrong. If they're positive this year, I think they're going to be right. I mean, the possibility of the IPOs, the M&A, all of these various things that are great for the investment banks. And, you right away start going, well, who? JP Morgan? Yeah. Goldman Sachs? Absolutely. Morgan Stanley? Sure. Bank of America? Citi? Yeah. So there's quite a few out there that are the monsters in that whole world. JP Morgan, I left that one out. But there's a lot to be said for the financials. And I do think that, exactly like you're saying, if there's deals out there, those are great. A lot of the time you miss them because they have already moved, because they've announced the deal. And under those circumstances, great. But just go take a look at those investment banks as well, because that's not such a bad place to be. How about Zeta Global? Let's get on to that one next. That's pretty interesting, because we're talking about this strategic collaboration with OpenAI, which all you've got to do still, I don't care what all these guys say, you mention AI, that gets people's attention, and it gets their attention in a big way, looking for the upside. That's a stock that's taken a nice move today, up about 10% or so, near the 52-week highs. It's not at the 52-week highs, but it's pretty daggone close. So this one, conversational intelligence, very, very interesting part of the market. I think, when you take a look at this one, is it going to be able to roll out by Q1 of 2026. That's what they say is going to happen. So this whole thing, this integration of OpenAI gets them deeper. This gets pretty daggone interesting fast, I think. I like what I'm seeing on this one, and I think Zeta's got probably a little bit more room than just the 10% move that it's made.
Yeah, and you know, someone else likes what they're seeing, and someone else thinks that it's got a little more room as well. We don't know who they are, but they are smart money buyers. I teased this. I didn't ask permission, but Pete's awesome, and he's not going to care if I do this. Got 13,000 of these bought today, and by these, I mean Zeta calls. Out in February 20th. They're buying all the way out at the 30 strike. You don't have to do that. You could go closer to the money. They bought it twice. They bought the 25 strike calls as well. Same expiration out in February. This is what I teased in the cold open. By the way, for anyone wondering what Zeta does, I was in the same boat about 20 minutes ago, conversating with producer Jared saying, what the hell do these guys do? Well, if you've ever been bubbled online, if you're ever scrolling around and you're like, I searched for that or said that out loud near a mic somewhere. These guys help with that. Data and automation for a personalized customer experience. That's Zeta.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. It really is. All right. Our next one up is Aeva Technologies. I hope I'm saying that one right, but it's interesting. It's not a name that I was familiar with until today, and taking a look at this one up, substantially. They also have some shorts that are anywhere between 16% and quite a bit higher than that. So the possibility of a squeeze. They do have a spot where their cash burn is pretty high. That makes it a little interesting. But here's what makes it the most interesting right now, Nvidia. Because Nvidia seems to have a pretty good eye on this whole thing, and they like this whole lidar thing, which is light detecting ranging. So in other words, this is robotaxi central. This is something that's a big part of this whole thing. And the fact that people want autonomous vehicles, they can have them. And this is going to be a big part of that whole thing with the sensors, with what they're able to provide and everything else. So I find this one to be pretty daggone interesting. What do you think of this, Justin? It's not a company probably you've heard of either. It seems like it's pretty small, but these guys are going to get big fast, I think.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? So usually these are not companies that I've heard of. This one was actually in the Rebel Roundup quite a while back. I don't know that they've actually made like a good upside move. I think they've chopped around a whole lot. But it popped up on a momentum scanner not so long ago. Great reason to be checking out some of those momentum scanners, because this name does make those sort of big upside downside moves. I think it's probably flat from where we called it out a while back. In any case, what I thought was really cool was Nvidia announced yesterday as part of this that the first autonomous vehicle from Nvidia will be on the road in Q1 2026. Nvidia noted that there is no doubt in my mind, quote, that this will be one of the biggest robotics industries. I think it also bodes well for Tesla.
So many people have missed that, and you haven't, but so many people, they talk about, oh yeah, Nvidia, that's AI, that's this, that's that. They forget the robotics part of it. And that I think is something that when that was delivered by Jensen Huang, I mean, that was the thing that people should have grasped onto and said, wow, that's right. This is the next, part of this whole world of that's changing so rapidly. And robotics was something that I think a lot of people all of a sudden just they swept over that. They started going, oh, it's just AI. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, we've seen some of the selling that we have seen. But yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head there. How about this Alumis? Now, here's another one where it's only up 125% last I looked. I mean, that is the world of something in the medical world, oftentimes, biopharmas and names like that. But this was an oral therapy, right? And it's also a moderate and severe plaque psoriasis, which is not a fun thing, apparently. And so because of that, they had two pivotal phase 3 trials going on at once. And wow, some of the numbers that they were able to put up were absolutely extraordinary. So that's a very big positive thing. The cash burn on this one is high, but they're all the way at phase 3 at this point in time, and things are looking pretty daggone good with two different types of trials going on at once. So they still have a pipeline even below that. Most of them, well, some of them are already up to phase 2. The rest, phase 1 and even earlier, so that will take plenty of time. But these at phase 3, this is a big deal. And the stock is running for exactly that reason. When I say a big deal, when you see a stock up 125%, that's a pretty big deal, I would say. So I'm looking at that one. It did hit new highs today, got all the way up to 22.30. Not sure where it is now. It might be higher, might be a little bit lower, but it's certainly going to be something that's pretty volatile today for sure. But the surprising thing is their balance sheet actually looks pretty daggone good. Yes, the cash burn is high, but the balance sheet itself looks pretty strong. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, hard to chase anything that's up over 100% in a day, but what a monster. I mean, incredible. I would just say this plays really well, and biotechs as a whole into that whole thesis where rates are coming down, cost of capital is going to get cheaper, and anyone who needs to invest in their business and grow and maybe fight diseases or expand their business in any way probably benefits over the next year or two.
Yeah. Well, that's it for all of our stock stuff. We're going to have a little bit of fun, the two of us. I always like to see where you are. I know you don't watch as much as I do on some of this stuff, but I know you also, you know what? You do watch a fair amount of things, I think, that are out there on the sports side of things. By the way, first time I ever played pickleball was this past weekend. And you know what?
That's cool.
It isn't that bad a sport. It really isn't. We all give it crap. Oh, it's all for old people and all the rest of this. No, that's really not true. It's really fun. It's crazy. But speaking of crazy, we got to watch this video because this is phenomenal. This is a guy that I know. He's very, very smart. He does a great job with Fox. And I like what he has to say here. So we decided we wanted to run this one today before we get in a little bit deeper into the NFL. This is about college football.
This Indiana team had any other logo next to their name, if this was Ohio State's logo next to this resume, next to this team in Indiana, if this was an Alabama logo, a Georgia logo next to this team, we would all be talking about, is this the best team that we've ever seen in college football? Because no team in the history of our sport has ever been able to go 16-0. Now, granted, that's a scheduling thing, but this team has a chance to do that. There's an overlooking of Indiana that is currently happening. And the reason I know that is because their resume is actually, without a doubt, the best resume in all of college football.
That's awesome.
They're the most tested team in the country right now. And they're the ones that are 14-0.
Yeah.
They're the ones that have handled everybody. They're the ones that have only given up more than 15 offensive points one time this year. And that was in a game on the road to Penn State.
That's crazy.
This is the team, Indiana, that in only 2 games have given up more than 1 touchdown, right? Like, this is the team that is so sound and mistake-free and just absolutely bludgeoned Alabama. They're the ones that have beaten 3 teams that played in the quarterfinals in the college football playoff. Oregon played in the quarterfinal, Bama played in the quarterfinal, lost to Indiana, and Ohio State played. No other team can say that. They beat 3 quarterfinal teams this year. This team stands on business as the best team in college football.
Joel Klatt is a great guy, does a great job, and I got to tell you, he's right on every count. I mean, he's right on every count. And I know you don't follow it like I do, and you're much younger than I am. So you don't know how bad Indiana football has been for how long. And yet, great basketball team, famous for being one of those unbelievable teams year in and year out. And basically, they're a part of some of these movies and all the rest of that because they're so amazing. But the football side of things, I mean, honestly, when I was playing, you'd go down to Indiana. Not only were you probably going to get a pretty easy shot at winning that game, but you'd always be shocked because nobody's at the stadium. It's like a practice. They were so, unfortunately, so bad for so long that people just kind of gave up on the thing. They'd pile into their basketball arena. They'd be packed. But football, they didn't even have this. They didn't have as many people at football games as they did at basketball games, which is kind of a crazy thing, but that's what it is. So yeah, he's dead right on that whole thing. In Indiana, this is a really special team. It's been a lot of fun to watch them this year, especially for a guy like me who has the history behind it and played against them quite a few times and all the rest of it. All right, let's jump into the NFL. because this is something that can happen anywhere. People lose jobs all the time, right? Everywhere throughout the country, throughout the world, all the rest of that stuff. They really lose their jobs in college football. And you know where they even get even worse? The NFL, because it stands for not for long. Well, some of these guys have only been there 1, 2, 3 years, whatever it might be, and they're already gone. But there were 4 that were just given the axe just yesterday, as a matter of fact. So you've got Morris from Atlanta. You've got Stefanski from the Browns. You've got Gannon from Arizona. You've got Pete Carroll from the Raiders. Oh, and by the way, during the season, on October 13th, Callahan was fired by the Titans. And on November 10th, Brian Dable from the Giants was fired as well. So you've got 6 already, and I think there's going to be more, but we'll get to that in just a minute. There's also all these interviews that are coming up, Justin. These guys are already, their agents get active and they immediately get on there. And so the offensive coordinator, his guy's named Nagy. He used to be the coach of the Bears, and then he went back to Kansas City where he's the offensive coordinator. Also, the defensive coordinator for Kansas City is looking at the Tennessee job as well, Steve Spagnuolo. He's been around for a long time. Both of them are great guys. Morris from the Falcons, who just got fired from the Falcons, he's scheduled to have a talk with them. Stefanski's supposed to talk to the Giants. So it kind of gives you the idea. This is just plug and play. This guy gets fired from here, but you know what? These guys over here think he'll do a better job over here. I mean, that's what we're seeing here in this whole thing, and it's pretty crazy. Atlanta's got their own guy. They're picking somebody from Seattle. The offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks is Kubiak. They want to have him, but that's going to be a little tougher because Seattle had a great year. They're playing still. They're the number 1 seed for the NFC. So there's that might have time to play out. And then there's Vegas and Arizona. And there's a lot of things that there's going to be a lot of interviews going on. It's just going to be crazy. What do you think of this whole thing as a guy who's probably not deep into it as much as I am, but the fact that these guys get almost no time? Almost no. I mean, in many cases, I'm not joking with you when I say a year or 2 into their contract and they're moving on. I mean, just to give you an example, I think the Raiders, when I looked, have like 5 coaches they're still paying, none of which are there. And I think the number is somewhere close to $70 million that goes out to these guys. So that's the craziness of it all.
My real opinion is that with anything, you just got to let people cook. I can't imagine anybody coming into any job for the first few months, maybe even the first year, maybe even the first 2, and excelling against other people who are masters and know exactly the place that they're playing, the team, the members, and everybody, and have that working relationship. That sounds ridiculous. And it sounds like these people are really, really sucked into that world and maybe need to take a step back and think, hey, would I fire a different employee after a month and then continue to cycle through, and by the way, continue to burn cash on every one of them? But that's just my little opinion.
It's crazy. I mean, it's going on in college football. It's going on obviously in pro football. And I mean, pro football, the time frame is much lower though. I mean, if in college you get 3 or 4 or 5 years, in the pro football, you're getting maybe 2 or 3. Unlikely you're going to get the 4th. I mean, if it's not going there, they've got to get somebody else. And, you know, the problem also is these owners, most of them don't know a damn thing about football. They just have the money. I mean, you know, billions and billions of dollars of money. And when they go in there, you know, they want to make the change. Well, they still think it's their business and they don't know anything about it. And that's part of the problem of the whole thing. I got one last thing for you about hot seats. That's not the end of it for these guys. The Buccaneers head coach is sitting on a very big hot seat, despite the fact that he's gone to the playoffs multiple years now, but not this year. And so he's sitting on this hot seat. John Harbaugh, who's been with the Baltimore Ravens for a heck of a long time, been to Super Bowls, done this, done that, does an unbelievable job. His brother is Jim, who's done a great job with the Chargers. He's in the hot seat. And one other one, Matt LaFleur. Here's the crazy one. I've been hearing more and more about this, Justin. They're in the playoffs. The Green Bay Packers are in the playoffs. And they're so disappointed that they didn't win the division to do this, to do that, and everything else. And Chicago's got that he's on the hot seat, Matt LaFleur. So despite the fact that he's at the playoffs, he's a guy that, you know, if I'm him and I won the Super Bowl and nobody has filled all, if they still were open somewhere, I'd jump if I was him. I'd say, you know what, you guys, if I'm really on that hot seat, you lit this out to the world, that's ridiculous. I'm out of here. But it is crazy, isn't it? I mean, this just extends even further out about they do not have any patience in the NFL. And you know what? Quite frankly, they can't afford to have much patience. But it's still a crazy world. These guys, you know what? The two best jobs in the world right now are to be a fired coach, because you're probably going to get the money that you didn't get yet already because it's guaranteed, and you're going somewhere else that's also going to pay you. So a lot of people consider that one of the greatest jobs that there is. But how crazy is this level where you've even got somebody going into the playoffs and he's still on a hot seat? What do you think of that?
Oh, that's insane. And also, I mean, where's the loyalty? You know what I mean? You got also this guy has your team's current activity in his hands. Letting this out during the action is so crazy to me. I don't know. It's that I asked you a while back. I was like, hey, would you want to be a coach? And I think you said no. Is this why? Is it just because it's so chaotic like this?
You know what? I take that back. I would be a coach. I wouldn't be the head coach, because I wouldn't mind being a defensive coordinator or a linebacker coach, because nobody really cares. You know, they're like, you know, it's the head coach whose head is out there to be chopped off or whatever. You probably lose your job, but you might not. You might, the new guy coming in might say, you know what, Pete, you're a pretty good linebacker coach. Yeah, I still want to keep you. It's like, okay. and worst case, I'll just bounce off to somewhere else and coach there or whatever. But it's a different life. It really is. And in college football, the one piece of advice I always said to every college football coach who talked to me about finance, I always said this. I said, look, don't buy a house. Never buy a house, because you're going to move in 2 or 3 years. You're going to be in Iowa City 1 year, at Iowa. The next year you might be in Lincoln, Nebraska. And 3 years later, you're down there in Southern Cal at USC. I mean, that is the life of an assistant coach. They bounce around more than the head coaches. So it's kind of a crazy town. And I did get recruited by quite a few NFL coaches over the years to do some coaching, and I passed on all of them. But you know what? Maybe that was the wrong thing. Who knows? Well, Justin, thank you very much for filling in for John today. Outstanding. Really appreciate you. Always doing an amazing job. And thanks for doing that. And we will be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time. I think it's going to be John and I. If not, we might have Justin again, and I look forward to that. Have a great day.